In Cathie Wood's latest address, which was released this past Friday, she went on to discuss China and her concerns with the economy there. And if you guys do remember, Cathie Woods has not been shy about her unwillingness to invest within the country. I actually agree with a lot of what she had to say, and that's exactly what we're going to be diving into in this video. So smash that like button and subscribe if you're new. You're watching More Money. Let's get it. I'm sure you guys already know, Cathie Woods is not shy about the risks that she does see within the Chinese economy. She believes that this risk is so great that she's largely reduced all material Chinese exposure down to an insignificant amount within her flagship ETF, the ARK Innovation Fund. Risks in the Chinese economy are nothing new, and although I am a bull on certain Chinese names like Alibaba, I have also tried my best to be balanced, and I've been covering as many of the challenges in the Chinese economy on this channel in detail as I can. The first area that Cathie provides us an update on is the Evergrande situation. And if you're not up to date on the Evergrande situation, I have made a 4-part series on it, which I'll link to at the end of this video. But overall, China has a huge and growing oversupply of homes in rural China, and Evergrande has to build 1 million more in areas where property construction has run well ahead of demand for years. As of 2017, 21% of homes in urban China were vacant, which equated to 65 million homes. And it's not like demand is expected to materially catch up, as the overall population in China is expected to start declining in the second half of this decade. So what we have here is a potential for a property bubble with a cash-strapped developer that has stopped paying its subcontractors in certain areas. And the government has intervened with a multifaceted approach. So in places where projects weren't that far along, local governments have urged Evergrande to cancel the work entirely and refund home buyers. And with respect to the growing pile of available for sale homes, it looks like they are largely being sold off at a discount, which of course is leading to the predictable effect of new home sales coming to a halt, as Cathie Woods will explain in this next clip.
Now, one other thing I'd like to focus on here is China. So much is going on in China that, again, the headlines are getting some of this, but within 1 week, a Bloomberg journalist, Sofia Horta Acosta, reported that all of this happened in Greater China this week. I'm going to just read you a few of these to give you a sense of the drama here. Evergrande suspends trading on the stock exchange. And the developer, Evergrande, was ordered, think about this, to demolish 39 illegal buildings because they didn't have the right permits. Can you imagine if that happened in the United States? The 100 largest developers in China reported that their contracted sales were down 35% in December. And for the year as a whole, they fell for the first time, Sophia says, in at least 5 years. I don't think I've ever seen them fall in the last 20 years. So real change.
Now, in my Evergrande series, I mentioned that so far, Chinese authorities are publicly stating that they will not bail out Evergrande or inject money into the company specifically, which would undermine their goal of showing that no private firms are too big to fail in China. But note that I do believe that intervention will be necessary, as buyers could potentially freeze in this uncertain market in the hopes of seeking better pricing for new homes, which we are now seeing happen. And I don't think that injecting money into Evergrande is the only way that you can shore up the systemic risk here. As you can see, that local governments have been extending subsidies to home buyers in an effort to prevent prices from declining. Despite that, home sales have fallen sharply recently, as buyers have become unnerved about the ability of many developers to stay afloat. Why put a huge down payment on a home if you're not sure if the developer can finish building the home? In an effort to shore up confidence, I do believe that China will have to intervene, and they will start by injecting liquidity into their banking system, which is something that they have done in late 2021 with the People's Bank of China injecting 90 billion won into the system to soothe nerves about a potential Lehman moment with Evergrande. But what's interesting is that Cathie mentioned that in recent news, the opposite is happening, as the Chinese government is taking liquidity out of the system. Here's Cathie mentioning just that.
And the central bank withdrew liquidity. A lot of people thought they were going to increase liquidity because they said they would. A China regulator vowed stability after stock market's rocky start, but they haven't done anything about it yet.
We will have to wait and see what happens here, but I still contend that the Chinese government will have to intervene to address the Evergrande situation. Now, Cathie went on to make a point that was very interesting and sort of obvious, but something that I didn't think about. What happens with the slowing Chinese economy? Well, the currency will drop relative to the US, but also there are other impacts which I'll let her explain.
And very interestingly, the yuan, the RMB, the local currency, after a very strong year, held up. And I think it held up probably helped by the government, supported by the government. It is starting to weaken, quite a telltale sign. Now, when China catches a cold, commodities usually catch pneumonia. And we're seeing this in a few commodities, iron ore prices and so forth, but it isn't quite clear cut yet.
And I think her point at the end of that clip is very important. The situation is not quite clear yet, and it's something that we're both waiting to see play out. But with the pursuit of a zero COVID policy, which I absolutely disagree with, rolling blackouts in 2021, a potential real estate bubble, how is it that China hasn't seen more civil unrest? Because as you can remember, during the housing crisis here in North America, we had protests that occurred, and we even had the Occupy Wall Street movement form. Why aren't we seeing more of that take place in China? Cathie Woods gives her opinion here.
And I was saying to our team this morning, how could this be happening and the economy not be falling apart and the consumer not getting restless there? Well, the consumer savings is 75% in real estate. But what I learned this morning, and it does make sense, one of our analysts, our newest genomics analyst, Pierce, worked in his lab as he was getting his PhD at Texas A&M with other Chinese students. In fact, he only worked with Chinese students. And he learned that a greeting in China, the equivalent of a hello, is basically, I hope you have enough to eat. And so pork prices and rice prices are critically important. And what do we see happening there? Pork prices are down, depending on the measure, 33 to 50%. Rice prices are fairly flat. And apparently that keeps the consumer happy. Now, I don't know. I think this property debacle is quite something, so we shall see.
Now, I do agree that the property crisis is something to worry about in China and is something that investors in Chinese companies have to account for. Ultimately, as I've stressed over and over again on this channel, investing in China isn't without risks. However, if you maintain a balanced and diversified portfolio, which includes a partial allocation to China, I do believe that it is a winning strategy. And guys, if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. I do my absolute best to bring you non-hype research-focused content, and with your subscription, YouTube extends the reach of the channel, which allows us to help more people. And Cathie Wood, like myself, is getting more and more concerned with the potential of a real estate market collapse in China unless the Chinese government intervenes. If you're not up to speed with what's happening there, luckily for you, I've made a 4-part series going over the whole Evergrande situation, which you can get to right here.